Let's bring in Democratic leader Hakim Jeffries. Leader Jeffries, it's good to see we have so much to talk about, but why don't we just start off with the status of the shutdown, the Trump shutdown, and kind of last you and I spoke, you were saying, this was, a month ago or so, you were saying, look, I'm here, let's talk. Let's do it in front of the cameras. Let's do it in public. Let's be transparent with the American people. I stand ready. And then MAGA Mike responded to our interview and he was like, oh, that would be too theatrical. And everybody knows MAGA Mike and Donald Trump don't like theatrics. So where does it stand now, Leader Jeffries?
It's day 28 of the Trump Republican shutdown, and Republicans continue to refuse to sit down, have a bipartisan discussion. We've made clear we'll have a conversation anytime, any place with anyone, either here at the Capitol or back at the White House, in order to reopen the government, in order to enact a spending agreement that actually meets the needs of the American people and that decisively addresses the Republican healthcare crisis, because that crisis is crushing everyday Americans, tens of millions of people on the verge of experiencing dramatically increased healthcare premiums, copays, and deductibles. There are people throughout congressional districts across the country who may experience healthcare costs that increase by $10,000, $15,000, or $20,000 or more per year, when more than 90% of the people who receive Affordable Care Act tax credits make around $63,000. This is impossible for people to deal with this level of healthcare cost increases, but it's exactly what Republicans are visiting on the American people.
I mean, to be fair, since the last time you and I spoke, Donald Trump has done a few things. He's destroyed the East Wing of the White House. He's given $40 billion to Argentina. He traveled to Asia where he's doing these weird dance things that he's doing over there. But when it comes to SNAP, 42 million Americans about to lose their supplemental nutrition assistance program benefits. 20 million or potentially more Americans are either going to get priced out of healthcare or just lose their healthcare altogether. But, Donald Trump gave a speech today where he said inflation is defeated. He said mission accomplished. And he told our troops in Japan, he says, America's prospering and everybody's doing great, he says, back at home. To me, that just adds insult into injury, literally, when he does that.
Absolutely. And using our troops as props for his propaganda is disgraceful. And he's lying to the American people, of course, when he says that inflation is over. No, inflation is getting worse in the United States of America. Costs didn't go down on day one, which is what Donald Trump promised. Costs are going up. Housing costs are going up. Grocery costs are going up. Childcare costs are going up. Electricity bills are through the roof, and healthcare premiums are about to skyrocket because Republicans refuse to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. And to add insult to injury, House Republicans have now been on vacation for 5 consecutive weeks. They are nowhere to be found. They got out of town in September, and they've refused to come back. And so Mike Johnson has resorted to holding these daily press conferences, which is like a Republican family reunion featuring crazy aunts and uncles talking gibberish to the American people. It's an embarrassment. These people are deeply unserious, and they need to get back to work so we can get the government back open and deal with these issues of importance to the American people, including making sure that more than 40 million Americans don't go hungry because of Republican refusal to spend funds that they know they already have to provide nutritional benefits to the American people, but they want to weaponize hunger as part of their continued cruelty that they're visiting on everyday Americans.
I've spoken with so many members that have given me a great historical perspective. I spoke recently with Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren, and she has been a member since 1995. And she's talked about other past shutdowns. And she goes, look, in other shutdowns, both parties would be there and you would have the leader from, the party that's in the minority and the speaker there every day work trying to hammer something out. I'll give you this. I'll give you that. What can we do? And what everyone's telling me is what makes this very different is that, in this case, the Republicans just don't even want to like talk to you. Like from your perspective as the leader of the Democrats in the House, like, it's like a weird thing. Like you just show up to work and then the other side doesn't want to speak to you and they like cover their ears. Like how does the dynamic even like play out? Because as you've said over and over, we want to talk to you. Let's have the conversation. Let's do it public. All right. You want to do it private? We really don't want to do it that way, but let's talk in some way about any of this. And they're like, nah, we're not going to do that. Like, how do you even maneuver in that environment?
Yeah, the Republican behavior just validates the point that we continue to make, which is that Donald Trump and the Republicans shut the government down and now refuse to reopen it. And it's totally unreasonable for them to think that Democrats are going to provide votes for a my way or the highway approach to a spending bill that hurts everyday Americans across the country, including their own constituents. And we've said for weeks now, both before Republicans shut down the government and over the last 28 days, that we will not support a partisan Republican spending bill that guts the health care of the American people in the midst of a crisis that Republicans have inflicted on hardworking American taxpayers. That's been our position from day one, and it's not going to change. And so I think what's going to happen over the next few days as we approach the open enrollment period on November 1st, at which point Americans all across the country will now realize that because of the Republican healthcare crisis, their healthcare premiums and copays and deductibles are going to explode in ways that the average everyday American cannot afford. People are going to be unable to go see a doctor. People are going to experience medical bankruptcy. And as a result, everyone is going to be adversely impacted other than the billionaire donors that Republicans continue to support as part of their determination to subsidize the lifestyles of the rich and shameless. The whole thing is out of control. Well, this is why Republicans are reeling. The American people continue to hold them accountable for shutting the government down. And even Marjorie Taylor Greene understands that this issue around healthcare affordability that we have raised is a serious one, and it needs to be decisively addressed.
And Leader Jeffries, let's talk about your trip to Illinois, both to Chicago and to Springfield, to speak with the congressional delegation there and legislators there, because Democrats need to fight fire with fire. We need to fight back against Trump trying to rig the midterms. Prop 50, very popular out here in California. And I think Democrats are saying, look, we like our independent commissions. We want fair. As we know, Democrats in Congress have said, let's eliminate partisan gerrymander. Let's get rid of it all. Let's get rid of Citizens United. Let's create the most fair system. But we live in a system where Trump and MAGA want to cheat and rig and steal. So we need to respond. And so I think a lot of people said, okay, Leader Jeffries is out there in Illinois. He's speaking in New York. He's out there in Virginia. He was out in California. He's out across the country fighting back. Tell us about that, because I think it's big. And I think the Democrats in these states need to realize this stuff's existential right now. Like literally our Constitution is on the line. Our country's on the line.
Absolutely. The American way of life is on the line, and we cannot allow Donald Trump to gerrymander congressional maps across the country unanswered as part of his effort to rig the midterm elections. Donald Trump shouldn't get to decide who's in the majority in the aftermath of the 2026 midterm elections. That decision should be made by the American people, which is why we are strongly supporting the effort in California. I'm so thankful for the leadership of the California congressional delegation, Gavin Newsom, the legislative leaders, organizations on the ground, labor, and the partnership that has been undertaken to make sure that people are voting yes on Prop 50 to stop Trump from stealing the election. And we have to run through the finish line there. But we know that beyond what Republicans have done in Texas, they've now gone in and stole a seat in Missouri. They stole a seat in North Carolina. They just convened a special session to take place next week in Indiana, where they want to take a seat or two. They're scheming in Ohio. They may be scheming in Florida. This is an all hands on deck effort. And so had very positive conversations with the legislative leaders in the Illinois General Assembly yesterday, both the speaker and the Illinois Senate president. They both acknowledge this is an existential moment. We cannot unilaterally disarm, and all options have to be on the table. And so I look forward to those discussions that are taking place in Springfield over the next day or so. And I'm also appreciative that every single member of the Illinois congressional delegation on the Democratic side yesterday issued a statement saying to their legislative colleagues they support revisiting the congressional map to respond to the extremism that Donald Trump is now unleashing on the American people.
Leader Jeffries, thanks so much for your time as always.
Thank you.